package for today, Monday, July 8th, 2019. In our lead stories, nationally, Team Unity administration to move ahead with marijuana bill. And St. Kitts and Nevis engages with cultural heritage experts at the World Heritage Committee meeting in Azerbaijan. Regionally, over 5,000 pounds of marijuana seized in Operation Riptide in the Cayman Islands. Internationally, U.S. financier Jeffrey Epstein arrested on new sex trafficking charges. And in sports, SDA Jets beats Rockets in women's local VPL League. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back, and now the national news in detail. The Team Unity administration in January 10, 2019 received a report from the Marijuana Commission on recommendations towards the legalization of the herb in the Federation. Further to this, on February 18, 2019, the Cabinet deliberated on the report and later announced its acceptance of unanimous recommendations put forward by the National Marijuana Commission surrounding the use of marijuana. From three broad categories, the Commission agreed that a legal framework should be developed for the medicinal and scientific use of cannabis, but could not agree on the use of marijuana for religious purposes and the use of marijuana for recreational purposes. Speaking at the Prime Minister's press conference on July 2, 2019, Attorney General the Honorable Vincent Byron Jr. outlined what will be the next steps that will be taken towards implementing a legal framework for the plant.
We had promised that before the 31st of July, there would have been a second and third reading of a landmark bill dealing with cannabis. And in so doing, we would also have to amend the existing drug abuse and misuse legislation to accommodate that. And that would be legislation that the government has been working towards since the introduction of the Cannabis Commission some 2 to 3 years ago.
Honorable Vincent Byron Jr. One of the areas to be addressed with regards to the cannabis laws in the Federation was that the penalty for possession of less than 15 grams of cannabis or 5 plants is expected to be reduced to a ticketable offense without a criminal record, and the court will be able to expunge the criminal records of people convicted in the past on possession of that amount or less. Over the coming weeks, St. Kitts and Nevis will pursue its participation at the UNESCO 43rd session of the World Heritage Committee being held in Baku, Azerbaijan, with an active level of engagement with historical and natural cultural heritage experts from 193 states parties to the World Heritage Convention. The St. Kitts and Nevis delegation, comprising Mr. Percival Hanley, General Manager of the Brimstone Hill Fortress National Park, and the official representative of the Federation to the committee, and Dr. Dave Doyle, Ambassador of St. Kitts and Nevis to UNESCO, participated in a prominent exchange of views with its fellow 21 members on the World Heritage Committee, the most influential UNESCO body. St. Kitts and Nevis was elected to the World Heritage Committee in November 2017 for a period of 4 years, soon to be the only small island developing state on the committee. thus providing a position of leverage not only in terms of contributing to deciding on the heritage proposed by sovereign state parties to the World Heritage Convention, but also in securing valuable expertise for the Federation. On the fringes of the conference in Baku, the St. Kitts and Nevis delegates seized the opportunity to seek potential technical assistance, expertise and funding to support of the Federation's cultural heritage framework. The 43rd World Heritage Committee provided a pivotal opportunity before 2,500 delegates from more than 180 countries representing sovereign states and international organizations to underline the lack of critical expertise and capacity across small island developing states. Children from across Nevis will this week benefit from a summer safety program put on by the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services Nevis Division. The event, which began today Monday 8th July and concludes on Friday 12th July, targets children between the ages of 5 to 12 years and is geared towards children's safety in and around the home. The 5-day program, which is being conducted at the Jessops Community Center from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, is governed by the theme, Building for a Safer Tomorrow by Preparing Our Children Today. The program is expected to cover 6 safety areas.
We have fire safety would be predominantly illicit lighting of fires. We also have persons from violence and crime units. They will be teaching that aspect of it. We have traffic. They will teach traffic safety. We also have persons from Coast Guard who will be teaching about water safety. We have somebody else now come on board recently from environmental health, and they would be speaking a lot on personal hygiene, because that too poses risk. And then we have a representative also from disaster management, and they will be teaching about hurricane, earthquake, and stuff like.
Officer at the Vance Amory International Airport and coordinator of the program, Mrs. Mavis White Archibald. At the conclusion of the Safety Summer program, the fire officials will select a junior fire chief and a deputy fire chief. Last year's junior fire chief was Chevon Shebo Paris of Bath Village. Information reaching the VON News line has revealed that 2 nationals of St. Kitts and Nevis have been sentenced to 18 years in prison for failed assassination attempts on 2 men who were sitting in a car outside El Esperance Hotel in Cahill on November 18, 2018. According to the Daily Herald.sx in St. Martin, 28-year-old Akeem Alexis Chomney and 36-year-old Craig Mathgatha Halliday of Bastia were found guilty of 2 attempted murders and of possession of illegal firearms. Halliday was also convicted of possession of 4 false €500 bills that were found when he was arrested. The men had tried to take 2 lives in a crude manner by firing shots at 2 persons from close range. The judge stated in the verdict, which was handed down on Thursday, not only had they fired shots at the man they wanted to kill, but also at the driver of the vehicle. According to information from the Daily Herald, investigations of the 2 defendants' phone indicated that both had been in the Cahill area around the time of the shooting, which had taken place in broad daylight around 4 p.m. Both men had been wearing similar clothing to the ones worn by the 2 shooters seen on the hotel video surveillance camera images of the shooting. Subsequently, they were recognized as the shooters and nationals of St. Kitts. The VON Newsline contacted the police for further details, but to no avail. The value of Norway providing technical assistance for small island developing states like St. Kitts and Nevis to help them access climate financing, such as that which is available through the United Nations Green Climate Fund, the biggest global climate fund in the world. This was one of the areas of discussion between Prime Minister Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris and the Prime Minister of Norway, Her Excellency Erna Solberg, during a bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the 40th regular meeting of the Conference of CARICOM Heads of Government at the Sandals Grand St. Lucian Resort last week. The Norwegian Prime Minister was invited to attend the CARICOM meeting in St. Lucia as a guest of honor. The meeting also explored areas of potential engagement and cooperation between the Kingdom of Norway and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and considered how Norway could lend its expertise to help improve healthcare delivery and national security in St. Kitts and Nevis. Norway is represented on the 24-member board of the Green Climate Fund, which supports low emissions and climate-resilient development in developing countries. The Green Climate Fund has amassed a portfolio valued at US $5 billion, comprising over 100 projects in almost 100 developing countries. In March of 2019, chairperson of the St. Kitts and Nevis National Commission for Universal Health Care, Azela Clark, reported that the actuarial consultants from Monu Shipel Bahamas Limited were close to completing their work. According to Ms. Clark, their task was to develop funding forecasts and projections for the national health insurance, including setting adequate health care premiums. She also noted that at the time that the actuarial report is expected shortly and will inform the white paper on universal health care for the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. So where is the federal government with the progress of the health care program? Speaking at the Prime Minister's press conference on Tuesday, 2nd July, Minister with responsibility for health, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, provided this update to the general public.
We have had the report a couple of weeks now, and the Commission asked for my comments on it, which I've given, and invited them to produce the document which Cabinet can look at and make a decision. That document has been prepared. It is described as the blueprint for the introduction of universal health coverage in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I have already sent soft copies of that document to each cabinet member, and today as we speak, if it is not yet completed, it is a work in progress, completing hard copies for each cabinet member.
Health Minister also disclosed that the actuary would be in the Federation shortly to discuss further the rolling out of the health insurance.
In the next week or so, the actuary, Derek Osborne, should be here. I can't recall the date, but he has an appointment to meet with Cabinet in a short while from now. During those meetings, we will have an opportunity to hear from them and to grill them with certain questions to get the answers.
Minister Hamilton noted that a lot of ground has been covered and there is more ground to cover.
When Cabinet has had the discussion with the actuary and with representatives of the University of the West Indies, who from February last year spent a whole year on the ground doing the groundwork in preparation for this, Cabinet will hear from them as well, and Cabinet will again hear from the Commission that has come up with the blueprint, whether individually as groups or collectively. We will then be in a position to make a decision as Cabinet as to how universal health coverage will roll out in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, how soon and how we will roll it out in terms of what will be implemented in the first place and the second phase or third phase, or if all phases as a go.
Honorable Eugene Hamilton. Law enforcement officers from 3 OECS countries are into the second week of our RSS Regional Security System 2-week course on digital evidence collection. The 16 officers taking part in the course being held at the Ocean Terrace in OTI in St. Kitts are from Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda and St. Kitts and Nevis. They include law enforcement personnel from Major Crimes, Criminal Investigation Unit and Beat and Patrol. According to course facilitator Inspector Logan Joseph from the Antigua and Barbuda Police Force, the course is built to give officers the ability and knowledge to help them when they go to a crime scene as first responders to capture and transport digital evidence. Additionally, he said that retrieving digital evidence in the age of technology is very important and explained that the course will outline the different laws which speak to digital evidence that govern a number of territories throughout the region. The participants will be certified as first responders in digital evidence and law at the end of the course. Finally, police are investigating a fatal traffic accident that occurred along the F.T. Williams Highway on St. Kitts on Friday, July 5, 2019. The accident occurred at about 9:15 p.m. and involved a motorcar P7226 driven by Diamond Williams of Greenlands and pedestrian Hemet Hafi of Shadwell. Reports are that motorcar P7226 was traveling east along the F.T. Williams Highway, and when it got into the vicinity of Jam's welding shop, the pedestrian was crossing the road and was struck. Emergency medical services and a medical examiner were summoned to the scene. The medical examiner pronounced Safi dead. The driver of P7226 was taken into police custody to assist further with the investigation into the matter. In more police news, police have arrested and charged Ira Maynard of Pitcairn Street, Newtown on July 5, 2019 for the offense of murder. He was charged in relation to a wounding incident that occurred on July 2nd and resulted in the death of 58-year-old Davis Manners, also of Pitcairn Street, Newtown. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Time progressive.
That's right. It's summertime here at the Bank of Nevis Limited. So come and get an unsecured loan of up to easy $20,000 and up to 3 years to repay. It's that simple. So take a trip, close out some minor expenses, spend some well-needed time on a family vacation, or just enjoy Culturama 45. Your vacation made easier with a relaxing vacation loan from the Bank of Nevis Limited. My bank, your bank, our bank. The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram.
We love the festival. We love the festival.
Welcome back, and now the regional news in detail. In the Cayman Islands, officers from Cayman's newly formed Coast Guard helped intercept smugglers running drugs and ammunition through the region's water. Based on an article from the Cayman Compass, 2 boats were seized, 14 people were arrested, and a firearm and 91 rounds of ammunition were confiscated during Operation Riptide, a joint mission with the Jamaica Defense Force and the U.S. Coast Guard. Border enforcement officials also confiscated a total of U.S. $9,000 and 5,280 pounds of marijuana with a street value of U.S. $3.7 million during the operation. Cayman's Coast Guard Lieutenant Commander Leo Aglin and Police Constable Adrian Clark were deployed on board the Jamaica Defense Force Coast Guard's offshore patrol vessels HMJS Cornwall and HMJS Middlesex, as well as the U.S. Coast Guard's Venturous. Cayman's Coast Guard Commander Robert Scotland said the mission had also served as a learning opportunity for the new unit. Lieutenant Commander Gerard Wenk, the USCG military attaché in Jamaica, said cooperation between different countries was key to fighting drug trafficking in the region. Out of St. Thomas USVI, a massive blaze tore through the Royal Dane Mall on Thursday night, which includes restaurants, shops, and apartments. According to the VI Consortium, the VI Fire Service, VIFS, received a report of a structural fire at the mall at approximately 10:45 p.m. on Thursday and dispatched 2 units and crews from hotel company to respond. Once on the scene, the first arriving crews found heavy flames coming from the structure and initiated an offensive strategy to begin to bring the fire under control. Additional crews and units were called to the scene to include Ladder 1, VIFS ladder truck. After a 4-hour firefighting operation, which included fire apparatuses and 29 fire personnel, the fire was contained, VIFS said. Firefighters remain on the scene Friday morning to conduct salvage and overhaul operations. There were no civilian injuries. However, a firefighter sustained a minor injury to the forearm, VIFS said. VIFS Arson Investigation and Prevention Unit was called to the scene, and an investigation into the origin and cause of the fire was ongoing as of Friday. Among the destroyed facilities was Gladys Cafe, a well-known restaurant in St. Thomas, frequently by tourists and locals alike. Caribbean countries have welcomed an initiative by the SIDS Resilience Foundation and Project Launch designed to mobilize financing to build resilience, St. Lucia Prime Minister Alan Chastney has said. Chastney, who chaired the just-ended Caribbean Community CARICOM Summit in St. Lucia, said that a presentation had been made to the regional leaders, who also welcomed the involvement of the Duke of York in promoting this initiative, which will be brought to the attention of the upcoming UN high-level meetings. Chastney said that the regional leaders were thankful to the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who endorsed the idea of being able to create SIDS Foundation for Resilience. He said the Project Launch has put a proposal together to assist the region in providing the governance structure and the mechanism to be able to get private sector funds to be able to assist its challenge with the SIDS. Finally, the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, is moving closer to finalizing its first Youth Policy and Operational Strategy, YPOS, which will guide its youth-related investments in the region. On July 27th and 28th, stakeholders from 17 of CDB's borrowing member countries, BMCs, met in Barbados for a regional workshop to discuss recommendations coming from the consultations and youth study that the bank has been conducting to inform and shape the YPOS. The workshop brought together a range of stakeholders in youth development, including prominent secretaries, directors of youth, youth leaders, and representatives from development organizations. Director of Projects at CDB, Daniel Best, noted that the bank has provided over US $1 billion for youth development programs and projects over its nearly 50 years of existence, but has not to date adopted a dedicated policy and strategy to guide these investments. He said the Youth Policy and Operational Strategy, YPOS, is an important initiative for CDB as positive youth development outcomes align with CDB's strategic priorities and are essential to the region's sustainable development. The YPOS is set to be completed in the last quarter of 2019. That's it for our regional stories. Stay with us for news around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. Wealthy U.S. financier and registered sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has been arrested on new sex trafficking charges connected to allegations from the early 2000s, reports say. Epstein was arrested in New York and will appear in court on Monday, law enforcement officials told U.S. media. It comes amid renewed controversy over a plea deal he once reached to end a federal investigation against him. His lawyer told Reuters news agency he would plead not guilty to any charges. The latest charges stem from allegations that Epstein paid underage girls for massages and molested them at his New York and Florida home. Epstein, 66, was previously accused of sexually abusing dozens of teenage girls. Finally, a former Congolese rebel leader has been found guilty of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Fighters loyal to Bosco Ntaganda disemboweled babies and smashed their heads in, said judges at the International Criminal Court (ICC). In all, Ntaganda, nicknamed Terminator, was convicted on 18 counts, including murder, rape, sexual slavery, and using child soldiers. He becomes the first person convicted of sexual slavery by the ICC. The BBC's Anna Holligan reports.
Bosco Ntaganda's lawyers tried to persuade the judges that he too was a victim, kidnapped as a child and trained as a soldier. But this was considered no excuse for ruthless attacks committed in adulthood. The court heard of atrocities such as 49 mutilated bodies discovered in a banana field, a pregnant woman killed while trying to shield herself from rape, children under the age of 15 conscripted to fight, women and girls kept as sex slaves. The judges highlighted the horror brought by Bosco Ntaganda's rebel forces before finding him guilty of all 18 charges.
That brings us to the end of our news segments. The latest in sports is next.
I need a cool laptop, a new backpack, and so do all my friends. I need cute notebooks, folders, flash drives, pencils, and my pens. School is exciting, but it's no fun without all the tools I need. But I'm at ease, cause it's a breeze if I shop at TDC. Oh yeah!
It's back to school at TDC Business Center and City Drugstore Nevis. Your one-stop shop for all your school supply needs. Get bundle savings on backpack and computer packages, but save 20% off all back-to-school materials and printers. Back-to-school shopping is made easy at TDC Business Center and City Drugstore Nevis. See stores for details.
Welcome back. Another Sports in Detail. In local sports, the Women's VPL League got into full gear on Sunday, July 7th at the Hard Times playing field as the SDA Jets engaged the Rockets. The Jets won the toss and elected to bat first. Summarized scores were SDA Jets 103 for 2 in 12 overs, Judy Morton 40 not out, Tracy Phillip 29, Adonna Busu 15, Malva Rollins 6 not out, Mertlin Elliott 2 for 19. Rockets 38 for 9 in 12 overs, Jasmine Joshua 12, Mertlin Elliott 5, Jonella Burke 3 wickets, Judy Morton 2, Tracy Phillip 2, Adonna Busu 1, Malva Rollins 1. SDA Jets won by 65 runs. Next Sunday, July 15th, we'll see the grand finals between the two teams. Still in sports, the West Indies Under-17 Regional Cricket Tournament got underway over the past weekend, which resulted in the Leewards Under-17 team winning one game but losing one so far. In Game 1 versus Jamaica, Leewards won by 8 wickets. In Game 2, which featured Trinidad and Tobago versus the Leewards team, Trinidad and Tobago won by 6 runs. Finally, the semi-finals of the ICC 2019 Cricket World Cup have been set. India topped the table after the preliminary round of matches, followed by Australia, England, and New Zealand. India will play New Zealand on Tuesday in the first semi-final, while England will play Australia in the second match on Thursday. The grand final is set for Sunday, 14th July at Lord's. That's it for the sports segment. The general weather forecast is next. Welcome back, and now the local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. Weather tonight, partly cloudy with a 20% or slight chance of a brief pre-dawn shower. Weather tomorrow, partly sunny with a 20% or slight chance of a brief early morning shower. Winds east-southeast with average speeds between 10 to 16 knots with higher spells over elevated terrain. Seas 1.5 to 1.8 meters or 5 to 6 feet. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:42 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Monday, 8th July 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, Team Unity administration to move ahead with marijuana bill. And St. Kitts and Nevis engages with cultural heritage experts at the World Heritage Committee meeting in Azerbaijan. Regionally, over 5,000 pounds of marijuana seized in Operation Riptide in the Cayman Islands. Internationally, U.S. financier Jeffrey Epstein arrested on new sex trafficking charges. And in sports, SDA Jets beats Rockets in women's local VPL League. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tammy Reed, wishing you a pleasant evening.